How do you get a steady stream of clients using Google Adwords? Welcome to Tea at Taxevity, where you get insights from insiders who make life better, our many clients and friends. My name is Pramod Sharma, and our guest today is Sunny Lam. Welcome, Sunny.
Hey, Pramod.
Now, Sunny, please tell us in a sentence or two what you do when you're not being interviewed.
When I'm not being interviewed, I'm usually a marketing consultant and copywriter, and also a lead generation conversion specialist. So I know that's a huge mouthful, but generally I help people land new clients and write better marketing so that they attract new clients. And that's essentially what I do when I'm not being interviewed.
Okay, and that's very valuable. And who are the ideal clients for you?
Oh wow, really in truth, right now as I'm expanding into the PPC side and lead generation side for small
By
local
PPC,
businesses.
you mean?
Pay-per-click.
Okay.
Pay-per-click. So as I'm expanding to that area, I'm really trying to focus more on local businesses who really would benefit from the current setup for Google AdWords, because Google AdWords really favors local businesses right now. So, but of course, generally I do prefer working with clients that are either lawyers, dentists, or sell extremely high value products or services. But generally, I'll still work with anyone else. I'm more than happy to discuss, either the problems or whatnot in terms of generating new clients or business.
Okay, and today we're talking about generating new clients in business, which makes you an ideal guest.
Yes.
Otherwise, this interview would have had to end right there. Wrong person.
True enough.
Now, one thing I'm hoping you'll be able to explain is I've heard a lot about SEO, search engine optimization. I haven't heard so much about Google AdWords. I know a bit about them, but is it the same thing?
Yeah, it's crazy. There's an insane misconception between that SEO and PPC are the same thing. It's absolutely not the same thing. Search engine optimization is a much more longer term strategy for your marketing. I don't hate SEO. It's if you want to bring in clients or customers right now to your business within like 1 week or less, then search engine optimization as a long-term strategy is probably not what you're looking for. I would probably relegate that to the lower bottom 10 of strategies you could use for advertising your business and generating new clients. Instead, PPC, which some businesses may have tried but don't realize that they may be doing wrong, PPC actually can generate much more quickly if you have a very well-designed, high-converting landing page and well-designed Google ad campaign. And pay-per-click is just simply that people are clicking on some of those top ads that Google has on the search results, because Google makes 97% of their business is from advertising, selling that advertising, and they said it at the very top of the results, which gets between 40 to 80% of all clicks. So when someone's searching, they're just gonna, if your ad is on the top area and you've designed it well, you can get a lot of clicks and possibly a huge number of clients and business from that, compared to SEO, because SEO, the thing is, you might have had some businesses may have had large SEO companies approach them, promising that they can get them into the top first page of results. But the only problem with that is, if you are just starting in this area, or you're a new business starting SEO, and they promise to get you there within a few months, the only problem is you're competing with other established businesses who have been doing this for 3, 4, or 5 years, and so they have a huge amount of content that they built up already, and how are you going to be able to match that? You'd essentially have to do about the same amount of time as they would, and you'd have to be paying thousands of dollars every month to do it.
Okay, and with Google AdWords, I gather that's closer to having, say, an ad in the newspaper where you pay now and it just goes online right away?
The way it's set up is you can set up the ad, unlike newspapers, which has a long lead time. You normally have to book newspaper ads months or weeks in advance, and it's just crazy that way. So you actually have less flexibility to actually control your advertising budget than if you used Google AdWords or other similar PPC systems when they're done right. Because the way it's set up, Google makes the money only when someone actually clicks on your Google ad. And assuming you've done your job right and have a high converting Google ad on the top first 3 results, which are always going to get the vast majority of clicks practically, then if it's set up that way, then you're going to pretty much be able to generate business much more effectively than search engine optimization.
Okay, now I've seen these Google AdWords, and I think I've even tried creating one once, and there's not a lot of space. There are only so many words you can put there, and I got stumped because I couldn't see what I would put there, and then I had questions about budgets, which I'll also ask you about. But how do you figure out what goes into that small text box?
Oh, and that's where you need to have a professional copywriter or someone who's really experienced in generating Google ad campaigns actually help you out there, unless of course you're willing to spend thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours doing it yourself, which is cool too. It's, to actually figure that out, you really have to, know what your customer is looking for, and in doing so, be able to write headlines that really attract attention. And headlines are the big thing for Google Ads. So, wait, am I actually answering your question properly?
I think so. Yes. Okay, so so in creating the ad, you focus on the headline.
Headline. Well, if I were to give like rough advice, I would pretty much say, yeah, focus on the headline. Your display URL is absolutely also second most viewed thing on a Google ad practically, and everything else follows it. If you know the good principles of copywriting, you'll mention benefits and whatnot, and you'd be surprised that some of the I've done this research for so long, and I've helped people for so long with this. You'd be surprised that some of the top Google ads in like the top 3 positions, you're often competing against people who are writing extremely bad ads. Like a good ad is one that takes up a large amount of space, but these other ads will be like half the size. They have no excellent copy. They won't mention any benefits. They don't mention their location. And right now, Google favors local businesses, so you can actually include your Google My Business location profile or actual address into your Google ad for free if you have the profile set up. And 80% of local businesses do not even realize that you can get this, that this would even help them even in regular search engine optimization and search rankings, that this would even help their ad essentially. So if you're looking at good ad design, I mean, you're having site links, call extensions, location extensions, which is the address. All of this helps to boost the size of the ad and make it like twice as prominent as other ads. And if your competition is in the same top 3 spots and they have only half the size of the ad, who are you more likely to click?
Okay, but then if my ad is bigger, does that mean I'm, say, twice as big? Am I paying twice as much money?
Nope. You only pay for the number of clicks. You get the hot lead, Google gets your money, and you get a potentially huge boost in business. Potentially, if you have a good Google ad, that can almost double your essentially your click-through rate, which could potentially double your leads and essentially your conversion rate too. So your return on investment would be almost double. And we're not even factoring the fact that after they click through the Google ad, they've got to flow to your landing page or your website page. And if that is a well-designed, high-converting landing page, which is designed to get them to instantly click, instantly call you or fill out the form, because they're already a red-hot lead. When they're searching on Google, they are a red-hot lead with a bleeding neck problem they want to solve right now. Let's say your basement's flooded. Are you going to search through 10 pages of search engine results to find a guy to fix your flooded basement? You are not going to do that. If you have a desperate problem right now, like let's say, I know most business owners don't think about this, but consider what your customers are like. They are a screaming kid. They've got kids playing around them. The television's going. They've got distractions everywhere. If you cannot cut through that distraction, it's the same like first impression. In 9 seconds or less, and that's what your landing page has to do. That's what your Google ad has to do. It has to cut through to the heart of the matter, exactly their pain or problem. If it doesn't do that, and if it's not a good fishnet, that landing page, if it doesn't catch their attention in those 9 seconds or a minute they're looking at it, they'll leave. It's possible that you could potentially risk losing the customer forever.
Okay, so I can understand that you have to have really good text in your ad, but you also have to, I'm not clear on how you decide how much to pay for the ad. I think there's some kind of an auction system, and for my ad to be above your ad, it means that I have paid Google more than you've paid or something.
Which is why it's a misconception to go after the first place in the Google Ads section. Actually, the best place is not the first place. It's actually the second or third place, maybe fourth or fifth in the side, maybe. So theoretically, theoretically, you want those areas because if you're in those areas, you know you're not overpaying. But if you're in the first position, you could actually be overpaying to get into that top spot. So, but the thing is, you don't actually have to, pay your full bid amount. In fact, a lot of businesses will set it high, but if they're good about how they set up their campaigns, you can keep your costs to much lower than you imagine, like half of what is average actually could be possible if you have diligent expertise behind you, or you spend hundreds of hours or something and thousands of dollars to master this. You could theoretically keep it to very efficient levels by simply mastering the art of efficient ad writing and efficient campaign execution. So you wouldn't actually have to bid that much. In fact, the more popular your ad is, and don't take my word for it. I mean, there's articles all over the net about this, but I can just tell you straight up that if your click-through rate is high, if lots of people are clicking on your ad right now, and that means your ad is good, really attractive, really jumps out, then that means Google actually lowers your cost per click. So think about the double whammy. Landing page, double or triple your leads or conversions, or your potential customers calling you when they have a bleeding neck problem. Doesn't get any better than that. Red hot lead, already looking for your service. Most businesses have huge troubles trying to figure out, who am I selling my product to? Who am I going to sell this product to who actually will pay the money? Well, right now, Google, you've got these guys who are calling you because they're willing to pay the money. And so you've got the landing page, then you've got the Google ad, which also, if it's well done, twice the size and twice as effective, your return on investment could be, 2 times or even 3 times. So think about that. So you got two or 3 times the effectiveness because you have a good landing page that's not your main website page, which isn't a very highly distracting website page, and you have a Google ad that's like twice as effective. You've got a potentially between 4 to 5 times, 4 to 5 times the amount of return on investment for your advertising dollars. Now, can you get that with newspapers, magazines, flyers, billboards, all forms of interruption advertising, which only, reaches out to people? It's like a shotgun effect. You're firing a shotgun and spraying everyone with it, but not everyone is in the right mindset to purchase your product or service, especially if they're local, right? And people are looking for local businesses because you're not going to go and see a dentist in Saskatoon, right? You're going to search for a dentist in Toronto. It's the same thing. That's why local businesses are missing out on huge opportunities to grow their business because they're still using outdated interruption advertising methods, which are essentially the same as like cold prospecting, but even less efficient because now you're not even calling a specific list that you've narrowed down. You're trying to. It's like whipping out the National Post and trying to sell to everyone in Canada. Well, you can imagine what kind of nightmare that would be in terms of vacuuming through your credit card and your budget, essentially.
Yeah, speaking of credit cards and budgets, do you have an idea of what a reasonable budget is for an advertising campaign?
That depends. I have seen...
I want a definitive answer, not an idea. It depends answer.
It depends. Well, it depends on the case. Like, there was a very highly successful, and I mean, when I talk about highly successful businesses that have used Google AdWords that they've talked about online before, I mean, these guys are like in the top 10 and 20% of business owners who know and get Google AdWords. And like I said, the rest, 80% of businesses do not get AdWords. They think that they have their main website page is great. They send the traffic there, and they wonder why their Google AdWords campaign wasn't working for them. It's because they're hitting people who are like, we're like looking for dolls in China or something, and they saw your ad and somehow there was dolls in it, and they called you, and suddenly you got a very unqualified, not very hot.
Okay, maybe to ask that a different way, is there, say, a minimum budget that if you're not going to spend a certain amount, don't even bother?
Okay, so
if I've got like $10, should I bother, or do I need to have 100? Does it need to be 1,000?
Okay, there's an air purifying company that I know, and it's in my white paper that I wrote very soon for one of my presentations. And there was an air duct cleaning company. I think they started just by themselves, 2 co-business owners, like childhood friends, and I think they started with a $350 a month campaign, and it worked really well for them. They grew the business. Some businesses can actually achieve between 40 to 90% of their business is achieved through advertising through Google AdWords. The 90% one is a product business which had to be kept confidential, so they couldn't tell. Like the guy who was telling me about it was one of my mentors and colleagues. He couldn't tell me who they were,
Okay.
but they were excellent marketers. They knew exactly what their market wanted. They found the product. They started selling it online through Google AdWords, tailored the campaign perfectly. 90% of their business, I think they're in Seattle or something. Eventually, vaguely where they might be. 90% of their business, all done through Google AdWords. Of course, the other businesses can achieve, like some small businesses that I've seen have achieved about 40%, 50% of their business. Some have achieved about as high as 60 or 70% of their business. Oh, but then it's back to what you were saying. What was the budget? $350 I've seen is one of the lowest amounts. I have seen personal injury lawyers who could spend up to $40,000. No, I'm serious.
In a month?
In a month. $40,000
Oh.
because he spread from one type of practice to several other practices because his first campaign was so successful. Like my mentor and business partner was like, yeah, it's just crazy. This guy's my best client, and because it was just like he started with personal injury and he started expanding to other niches of law, and eventually his advertising budget ballooned to $40,000 because his returns, like I said before, were almost 4 or 5 times the amount he's spending on the advertising. Can you think of how efficient that is compared to like current methods of advertising right now? Billboards, I mean, the results of those plummet after 2 months. Like they'll try to lock you in. Those companies will try to lock you into billboard ones outside, and the thing is, everyone knows people get ad blind eventually, right?
Oh, okay. So you pay for 3 months, but after a month or two, people aren't even noticing.
Yeah, it's just like we're going by every day, and it's the same with radio. Like the same people tune in, usually an older crowd, tune in and day out. Eventually, your jingle loses effectiveness too. I suppose you could keep running a new ad.
Okay, so say you're doing your first Google AdWords and you've got a budget of several $100s.
That's right.
Now, how long do you need to run that campaign? Do you do that
To see
for
results,
a month, or do you need to do it for 3
Once the
months?
campaign starts, you can pretty much start seeing results within like almost 48 hours.
Oh,
No, seriously, you can, because the moment you do that, you are now beginning to intercept those red hot leads exactly at the moment they are looking for you, which means they are the pitch perfect, bullseye perfect target or customer that you are looking for, the one that matches what you're setting up. And of course, if you've set up your land page correctly, you can screen them for the exact type of client that you want. So if they're like, if you only work with clients who are making over 50K, then you can say on the landing page, not your main website page,
right.
the page that is designed specifically to capture new business and new leads. You say on that if your business makes over 50K, let's say a year or something, then and you have serious problems, making database Biometric Pro software work, then please call us for a consultation right now or something like that. And then of course, that helps to pre-qualify. So if your business that works with like high-end clients and you're like wondering, well, will this work for me and will I get the quality leads that I want? Well, you can actually set it up so that your landing page, i.e. your fish net that you're using to catch the right fish, is designed to only screen out the ones who match exactly your criteria.
Okay, so you can get results virtually instantly then?
Practically, yes.
Okay.
If you want to get enough to see metrics and patterns, you'll probably want to do that for a month or 2 months or 3 months to really start seeing more details. And then a true expert of AdWords who might be helping you out, or unless you've already figured out how to do it yourself, could then examine the metrics and be able to refine the power of that campaign. And that's the power of it. You have to be constantly testing, be willing to test new offers, new whatever, things like that, new ad copy, to be able to keep going. Because advertising is a constantly changing game. So you gotta be flexible about this. You gotta be willing to adapt or be left in the dust. And it's the same with Google AdWords still. You can still be one of the top advertisers. I mean, for local businesses, not so much an issue, because if 80% of your competition doesn't know Google AdWords, you've already beaten 80% of your competition. So it's really just you're fighting the 20%.
Is there a key takeaway you'd like to leave our audience with?
Key takeaway. The key takeaway is really this. Google is really it's practically the future. It's coming more and more. Google is the #1 way pretty much for people to generate leads, find new business everyone knows mobile is getting big. Everyone knows the internet is getting big. Everyone knows that cyber e-commerce is getting big. Attention is moving online. If your business is not on Google, even somehow on Google, you are leaving a huge pile of money on the table, literally having your lunch taken by your competitors. I mean, I'm serious. It's literally like that. I mean, unless of course your business is like really great with like network referrals and whatnot, and all the power to you. But most businesses do not have that kind of time often in those cases, and so Google AdWords and Google itself remains the number one way for them to generate leads. And so if they really want to build and expand their business at a really rapid rate, then they really must consider at least using Google AdWords in the short term before they expand to longer term options like search engine optimization, blogging, social media. I mean, they can do that too while they're doing this. But I'm just saying they should consider those more of the later on options to consider. And so I think that's the key takeaway for the audience.
Okay, well, thanks for all of that advice, Sunny. Now, what's the best way for people to reach you?
The best way for people to reach me is probably through my LinkedIn profile.
Well, thanks for dropping by, Sunny.
Thank you, Pramod.
Thanks for joining us for Tea at Taxevity. The Taxevity Insurance Advisory helps you understand insurance and bridges gaps in your coverage. There's no premium for peace of mind. How healthy is your insurance?